board and
Dick Cody
have occasionally attended as well. But I don't think anyone on the committee has an issue at all with, if they want to have a more formal liaison to the committee so that make sure they get the invites and such. I don't think there's any issue at all. It just allows us to work a little bit better together between the two committees.
Did you want to appoint anyone to be a liaison? Sometimes we could say the chairman or his designee, but
Who is the chairman right now?
Dick Cody is. And I think that's how I'd want to leave it, the chairman or his designee. That way they can decide amongst themselves who can best.
Do you want to make that a motion for our secretary?
Sure, I'll make that a motion that we add as a liaison to the Board of Selectmen Subcommittee, Water Resource Subcommittee, and that liaison would be the chairman or his designee from the Water Resource Commission.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Ralph. Discussion?
So, would they be a voting member? Okay.
Nope, because it's a subcommittee of this board, so they can't be a voting member.
Yeah.
But they can, like we do on many of our committees and commissions, liaisons are established to provide information. They could engage and give discussion. And I think it formalizes the recognition of their work and making certain that they know of your work as well.
No, I think it's a good idea, and it's been very helpful having Bob Shea and Dave Kuzminski there.
Definitely.
Yeah, it largely formalizes a lot of how we are operating, because having that advice, that counsel's always been good, but I think it's a good thing for us to do.
Yep.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Is there anything else you wanted to update us on that you had tonight, Jim, or?
At this point, no. I think we're pretty steady state right now, yep.
The next item is the 2019 fixed assessment application for Rosario Agostino, 185 Marlborough Street. This has been on our agenda previously, and we drafted for your review a resolution similar to the last one that we did, which I think was on Main Street, Mr. Kuzminski's. And I'll read it, give you a few minutes to think about it. It's a resolution authorizing the fixing of real property assessments, whereas the town has an existing policy to encourage the growth and expansion of commercial and industrial parcels by allowing for the fixing of real property assessments where a proposed development meets the requirements of Connecticut General Statute Section 12-65B, and whereas Rosario Agostino developed the parcel of 185 Marlborough Street, map 20, lot 202, known as the property in this resolution, for proposed retail business use, and whereas it is in the town's best interest and is consistent with its economic development policies and its policy on fixing real property assessments, known as the policy, in particular, to encourage this proposed development. And whereas Rosario Agostino, the owner of the property, has submitted an application to the town, dated February 26, 2019, to fix its real property assessment for the continued development of the property in accordance with Connecticut General Statute Section 12-65B and the town's policy, known as the application. And whereas town staff has reviewed the application and confirmed that it appears to meet the eligibility requirements for a fixed tax assessment as set forth in the general statutes and the town's policy. Now therefore be it resolved, after due consideration and review, the town of Portland hereby approves the application and authorizes the first selectman to execute a tax assessment fixing agreement for the purpose of fixing the real property tax assessment on the property in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in Connecticut General Statutes 12-65B and the town's policy. So also connected to your packets, we have, courtesy of Rich Lasky, our assessor, some calculations on 185 Marlborough Street. And what I asked him to do, per your request, is to see what the assessment would be and what the taxes would be based on the current year's mill rate of 33.81 for the property as it exists today and multiply that by 3 years. So the property pays $11,454.83 in taxes, and times 3 years, if the mill rate were to remain the same, which is what we're using here, would be $34,364.48. With the, should you approve this application, the maximum that you could allow would be that the land remains the same, because this policy does not allow land to be reduced. The improvement at 50% of what the improvement on this property was, which is $221,410, half of that would be $110,705, and multiply that out by the current mill rate. His tax would then be $7,711.89 for 1 year. Multiplied by 3 years, the taxes would be $23,135.68. And when you find the difference between what it would be without the fixed assessment agreement and what it would be with the fixed assessment agreement, the savings over 3 years is $11,228.81. Further, I think it was Selectman Serb who had asked that we take a look at the value of this property over the last several years. So Rich looked at 2010. Taxes on this particular property were $2,543.92. In 2011, a revaluation year, $2,485 and change. 2012, $2,529.61. 2013, $2,570.05. 2014, $2,615.34. In the year 2015 was $1,888.83. And in 2016, which was a reval year, it went up to $3,714.54. And with the improvement to the property, it went from that range of numbers substantially, I would say, up to $11,454.83. And I think Ben had wanted to see the improvement that was made on this property, and certainly the incentive of the fixed assessment agreement can be of great value to us, given that we will be more than almost doubling, right? Even with the
it's like
reduction.
Yeah,
Three times.
it's actually gonna,
Well, if you go
Even
with this
wanna
number,
use?
with the
If you go
fixed
with the
assessment.
77, it's
With
about
the-
a double.
Yeah, with the fixed assessment in place, the taxes on the property would still be a little bit more than double than what they would have been otherwise. So, and then at the end of the 3-year assessment there, it's about triple, so good development.
Not that it matters on what we do now, but why did the assessment go down $31,000 in
They tore the
2000?
structure down, is my guess.
Yes.
The house is taken
Yes.
down.
There was a
house-
building on there, yes.
Yeah, just so, if I may, big picture, if I remember, this was a single-family home, if not a multi, but it was at least a single-family home. This is a perfect example of what we need to encourage. We took a dwelling that could have children in the school system off the grant list, and we now have put in a structure that cannot have children in the school system, and he essentially, even during the abatement, will have doubled it. These are the things we.
So what's going on while we're talking about it? What's going on with the property now? Like, is it vacant? You know, it's all built out, but he's trying to lease it, or what's the plan?
I believe what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Oh,
It's vacant, he's trying to lease it from what I heard, but I don't know any of that.
Well, his plan was that this would be a medical marijuana
that's right,
distribution
that's right.
center. So that delayed his, I would say, this is my words, not Mr. Agostino's words, that meant he was waiting for the state to make a determination as to where the distribution would be, the dispensary would be. So it kind of held him up from moving in other directions. And then the state did not assign any dispensary in all of Middlesex County.
I think it's also good to point out, Sue, that
Yes.
Portland did approve it.
So Portland's Planning and Zoning Commission
Yes.
was,
Business friendly and did encourage this, even though obviously some people think that's a controversial subject, so, but then he was waiting on the state, and that was the ultimate decision. But I think it's good to point out, P and Z was supportive of trying to fill the building.
So now this guy's kind of hanging out there like he built this building, he doesn't have a tenant, and he's bleeding a little, kind of.
I don't know the
Subsidized.
situation, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay.
The only thing, if, Susan? the
Yes,
only
go
thing
ahead, Ben.
I think on our resolution, we should
Yep.
add one word somewhere.
Sure.
Where it says, somewhere in this, it says retail development. If we could also add the word office, because he's entitled to that, and that's also in our abatement. And
Where would you?
I don't know. I gotta find where it said retail. Somebody, first guy to find it wins.
Proposed retail business use.
There you go, bingo. Let's just
Second sentence.
put a comma,
No, proposed retail.
retail / office, because they're both in our tax abatement code. If you go to our, right here, on the next page, the first one is office.
Retail.
Or in the exact word is office use, which are both allowed in that zone, but he's only applying for retail. My fear is what happens if he gets a civil engineer or a lawyer and they use an office.
So should it say proposed retail business?
I would be more vague. I would just say proposed that meets the description in our fixed assessment, because what do we care what he fills it with, as long as he meets the criteria in our assessment.
Retail and/or business use, or office use?
Well, unfortunately, the only
We
other
have
one
the
I see that
policy.
applies, right, the only other one that I see that applies is office, and I wouldn't want to say, I wouldn't want somebody to ever say, well, they gave it for retail, now he owes it.
Right,
That-
we have the policy here, so
Yeah.
let's take a look at the
So
policy.
if anybody sees anything
Right, do
else
you
that
have
would
a copy
apply,
of the policy?
yeah, that's where I pulled it out of.
Could you say retail / office business?
Yes, well, I would use the exact words. I
Oh,
would-
here it is, office use, mixed, retail use, mixed use?
Well, you can't use mixed use, because.
No, I know, we won't want mixed use.
I would say the only two that apply are office and retail, so I would think then maybe, unless, please read it and see if there's another
He
one.
could, and you know what, Ben, he could
Office
always
use,
come
retail.
back. I
Yeah.
think we should include office use,
And leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that's.
retail use.
Yeah, because those are two plausible, that's probably, he has limited parking.
Yes.
So he's probably gonna end up with potentially a survey or,
So for,
Realtor.
So
let's
proposed
take-
retail use and office use.
Because
Yeah.
why don't we take proposed out and say for office use and/or retail business use?
sure. And I don't see any others that meet it, so we're not funneling them down to something.
So that sentence would read, for office use and/or retail business use, semicolon, and.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does that restrict him from doing wholesale businesses, wholesale sales? In other words, buying something to resell it rather than?
I'm not sure
No.
that's allowed in the policy.
Well, that's retail,
It is it's retail?
retail. If you're buying something and reselling, it's
So
retail.
under our statutes, retail does include wholesale sales.
Sure, it's a sale.
What it says
Okay.
in the properties that are allowed, Don, it says, the following types of commercial and industrial real property: office use, retail use, mixed use development is defined in General Statute Section 8-13, letter M. Transient residential use, manufacturing use, warehouse, storage, or distribution use, and structured multi-level parking use necessary in connection with a mass transit system, information technology, recreational facilities, or transportation facilities.
So there's
Well-
nothing there that says that he's allowed to buy something to resell it.
Just the retail.
Like, can you give an example?
Yes. I buy a device. I sell it to you so that you can sell it to retail it. I'm the wholesaler. There are state restrictions on wholesaling.
Right.
So I'm just curious whether we restrict that.
I think Portland zoning regs, you would fit under retail regardless. I understand what you're saying.
I know
but-
what
Retail, you can't, if I sell it to you under the concept of retail, you cannot resell it. Okay, because that, I'm selling it to you retail, you're buying it to use. That's retail service.
Wholesale,
If I
but,
sell it to you so that you are going to sell it to someone else, that's wholesale business.
it's not listed in this,
Yeah, it's interesting that it is.
so that's these uses come from the Connecticut General Statutes. And the purpose of these real fixed property assessments is to encourage certain kinds of business.
Right. That's why I was curious as to whether we were restricting the wholesale business. That's why it's written that way.
Couldn't,
I didn't realize the state had, because I know the state differentiates tax-wise between retail and wholesale, because there's different licenses for that different type of business.
Who?
yeah, I'm making an assumption here, that for a wholesale business to be approved, they would have to go to planning and zoning and ask to be a wholesaler.
Yes.
And I think there's a whole set of statutes that would address that part.
Right.
And then the planning and zoning could probably say, if the building was suited for that, they could say, yes, you can be a wholesaler in that property. But right now, for this purpose, it can only be used for those two purposes.
Right.
Okay.
I think that, does that clarify it for you?
It's restrictive in that it's got to be one of those uses that I just read
Right.
to be eligible for a fixed real property assessment. It's not saying that they can't do something else there, it's just saying that's all
Yeah,
that's going
what-
to be
So
allowed.
he has another avenue he can follow if he wants.
But he
to
won't get the fixed
use it
assessment.
For wholesale,
Right.
but he won't get that.
We'll look into it if that should occur.
What happens a lot of times is, like, let's say, for example, a fish market. They might open up as a retail store selling to the public, but then a lot of times they're also wholesaling to local restaurants and stuff.
Yes.
And
But in that
even though
case,
their main business is retail,
But that, I
Breaking
think
the law, really.
He'd still be doing retail.
Yes, they do it.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
question they do it.
But in that
So-
case, he'd still be doing retail, which is
yeah, he'd still
allowed.
be doing retail.
Yeah.
So I think predominantly we
we're all-
want it to be a
The-
retail.
yeah.
My only, the reason I question it is, it sounded like you didn't want to put any restrictions on what kind of business he does for that particular fixed taxes you're talking about.
As long as he meets Portland regs, so
Right.
just so I'm
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
All of these uses have to go through P and Z.
That document doesn't include that business if
Right.
he, in
Yeah.
fact, he goes in that direction.
I think you have a point if he was strictly gonna be wholesaling and not, like, not being a retail location, not being an office, he was just opening up as a wholesale
It's a picture of the
distribution.
building.
That
He
would,
wouldn't get the benefits of it.
right.
It's a very nice looking building. He
It
built
is.
a very
He did-
nice
He
building.
did a nice job. The only other thing we should point out is Portland also, we didn't adopt the state statute exactly. We adopted it in a way that we thought was appropriate, and we did take some of the eligible items out. For example, residential, I believe we removed.
Yes.
There were, and I still think there were maybe a few others we could tweak, but regardless,
Yes.
we didn't adopt it verbatim.
Is there a motion to accept or to pass the resolution with that one slight change?
I'll make that motion.
Ben? Is
I'll
there a
second it.
second by Jim? Further discussion?
I think it's wonderful.
Yes, and I think that
Sen-
Rich did a nice job putting this together for our review, and I thank you, Ben, for pointing out the extra information about the history of the taxes. I think
The-
that's illustrates the importance.
The only other thing I would add is if we could give economic development a copy of what you just gave us, Susan.
Yep.
And let them see firsthand
will.
how these things
I
affect
will.
the community in a positive manner. We're getting rid of a residential and we're
So
gaining.
I'll hand
so-
that out, Sharon, if you could put that in
I think
minutes
that's
to the Economic Development Commission, so they'll have it too. Yeah, it's a good illustration.
And if you see this gentleman personally, thank him, at least from me.
I certainly will. Yep. Well, when he comes in to sign it, I will definitely convey the selectmen's best wishes and thanks. You ready for the vote?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next is appointments to boards and commissions. And I have been approached by Dave Murphy, who's the chairman of the,
Dog Park Exploratory.
And he's on Board of Ed.
okay,
But it was
the
about
Dog
that.
Park Exploratory Committee. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. And he brought to my attention, and I think I shared it with the selectmen, that a gentleman, Mr. Schmidt, was appointed to the committee, but he never got sworn in. I sent him a letter asking of his interest on the committee, and he hasn't answered it. I tried a telephone number that I had for him. It came back unavailable. It wasn't working anymore. It was a landline. So the charter allows this board to remove someone from a committee for just cause. But we would have to send him a letter to explain that it appears he doesn't have interest in this committee. He did nothing wrong. He just didn't come to the meeting. He hasn't come to any meetings. It's something we've never done before, honestly, since all the years I've been here.
Well, heck,
Chosen?
He never responded. We
Was he
sent
ever-
him a letter.
Was he ever sworn in? He's not
No,
sworn in, then he's
never
not on.
sworn in.
So then we can't remove someone that's not on.
You sure he's not on? You appointed him.
We appointed him, but
He's never been
every
sworn
appointment is followed up by a swearing in, and if you don't complete it, you're not on. When we
Do you
all,
want to interpret it that way?
that's my take. If I went to the
Did-
Board of Ed meeting and
did
I
you
wasn't
appoint him,
sworn in,
Ben? Was he,
No,
is he,
no.
was he
I
from
don't
the
think Ben did.
Democrat side or Republican side?
He came from, I will tell
I'm
you,
just curious who nominated him.
no, it didn't come from one of the town committees. In
Oh.
fact, one of the members of the committee who had approached me, I asked because we were having a little trouble recruiting members.
Yeah.
And she had recommended this gentleman. She knew him. She said, don't know if he'll be interested, but I'll offer his name. So we put him on. But he did not respond. It's possible, I don't know the gentleman, it's possible he didn't realize that he was being appointed. It's possible he doesn't live there anymore. The letter didn't come back undelivered, but I don't want to in any way say that there was anything
Inappropriate.
incorrect.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
He was someone's name that we chose to put forward, but he never got sworn in. And I have another person, it's the same situation on the beautification committee. She has not come in to be sworn in. And I think we may have one on one of our commissions that he did not get sworn in, on planning and zoning.
do you want to
So,
just check the charter one more time to see if there's
I have it.
anything as far as being sworn in? Because I
Okay.
take the position until
It's
you're
not
sworn in,
official.
you're not official.
Yeah.
But we would have to remove, I know what you're saying, so we have to
Room-
withdraw
room for
our
consideration.
appointment
withdraw
request.
the appointment, yeah.
But I would say we are not removing him from the board because he was never,
Yeah,
never,
I agree.
that's how I see it, but
Yeah.
Seems the
don't let me,
simplest.
Yeah.
don't let me.
Withdraw the nomination.
They meet twice
Yeah.
a week.
And then once we withdraw it, he can't go in the interim, so there's no harm, no foul.
Okay. And it's for a committee.
I don't
I
know.
think when you get into the boards and commissions that are regulatory, like inland wetlands or planning and zoning, that's a lot, and the others that are in the charter, this is a committee. It's your
Yeah.
vote, it's your choice to appoint a committee. You can disband a committee anytime you want to.
yeah.
It's not in the charter.
Okay.
It's just a committee to help us do our work.
How about I
Yeah.
make a motion to withdraw the nomination to that committee, and with the understanding if this gentleman does want to get back on, we can discuss it then.
Yeah.
This is not, we just need to fill the void, that's what this is for.
Is there a second? to
I'll
that?
second it.
Seconded by Mike. Okay, further discussion? As I said, the gentleman did not ask to be on the committee. It's in some ways, as you just pointed out, been an error on our part in terms of.
We probably
not-
shouldn't do that anymore.
Yeah,
You know, let's make
Yes.
sure they want to be before
Right.
we appoint them.
I don't know.
So somebody probably volunteered him, it sounds like.
That's what happened.
Who's volunteering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Voluntold.
Yeah,
That's happened to me a few times on committees.
we had a similar situation on the Clean Energy Task Force. There was a member who was appointed and also was sworn in, attended quite a few meetings, and then stopped, and then moved temporarily to Florida. Not temporarily, but part of the year is in Florida, part of the year is here, and then never came to the meeting. We tried to contact him, wouldn't respond. Letter, phone, and finally we said, since this person has not, and this is not a charter thing, but it's kind of an operational standard, that if the person doesn't show up for 4 or 5 meetings, that's 4 or 5 months, it's obvious the person doesn't want to participate, and it'd be good for us to get somebody else to take that person's place. So we notified that person, and we did know that he received it. that we're gonna replace him with someone else. And like you say, it's a committee.
Yeah. And I
We
think
want the
that with-
committee to be active.
Yeah, and I think withdrawal of the nomination is appropriate in this case, so. You ready for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I'll bring the other name forward next time. I do know this other person. She had indicated she wanted to be on the
She did.
beautification. Yeah.
That was
But
my next question.
I think she has work commitments, because she had said to me I couldn't go because of my schedule, so, you know, this happens a lot.
Yeah.
But to keep these committees active and get participation is what we should do. Now, further, I'm not finished.
Oh.
Dave Rudder is an alternate on the Dog Exploratory Park Committee. So, the chairman, Mr. Murphy, asked if we would move Mr. Rudder from being an alternate to being a full member.
So moved.
Motion made by Lou,
Second.
seconded by Jim. Further discussion? Well, that means we have an alternate open, so we can at some point appoint another person. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. I'll bring to you the name from the Planning and Zoning Commission too, but I'll try to get in touch with that person. Again, people's work commitments and family commitments sometimes change and they can't serve, so.
We have a lot of committees, I think,
We
for
do.
a small town.
We do. We have a lot of work that
And
people
so it's
do.
hard just by the number of
Yes.
committees
Yes.
in a, basically a small
I
town
know.
to get enough people.
Right.
We do pretty well considering, I think.
We do very well, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Any other appointments tonight? Okay. New business, refund of excess payments. Jim?
Sure, I'll make a motion that we refund $198.29 to Austin K. Lessig.
Second.
Second by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion that we refund $238.56 to Daimler Trust.
Second.
Seconded by Ben. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. The next item was added to the agenda for tonight to set a public hearing for the Connectivity Sidewalk Grant and to send to Planning and Zoning Commission for an 824 referral for the Main Street sidewalk replacement. You may recall we were awarded a $200,000 plus grant for it's called actually Community Connectivity Grant for sidewalk work on Main Street. And part of the requirements for the grant is that we have a public information plan. So in other words, with a public hearing, if we set a public hearing, it'll give an opportunity for people to come and learn about the project, give us some input, and so forth. So that's why I wanted to suggest that we do a public hearing for the second meeting in May, which is May 15 at 7 o'clock in the evening. And then also asking, as part of a motion that one of you may make, that you also refer the work, which is going to be replacement of sidewalks on Main Street, to Planning and Zoning Commission under state statutes 8-24. We do this so that Planning and Zoning Commission can weigh in on whether we're in compliance with the Plan of Conservation and Development.
Only thing, and maybe if you want, we could Google it. I don't know if 824 applies. That's only municipality-owned, that statute. I don't believe it applies to state-owned. I
But
think it's.
that's also
I know.
work done by the town.
I know.
So I'd rather err on the side of having it done.
Should we Google it? Spend 2 minutes?
Sure.
I,
The other reason I'm doing this, Ben, is our town engineer asked me to put this forward. He said we needed an 824.
well then, you know what?
Chris
Do
Taylor.
it, and if we don't, then no harm, no foul. But
Okay.
I'm almost.
You may be right.
I'm almost positive that state statute's written.
But I do want planning and zoning to weigh in
can do
on
that
doing
regardless.
replacement of
We
sidewalks,
can
right?
do that regardless, and that wasn't my intent. My
Okay.
intent is if we need to drop the 824 language, we still want their opinion, in my opinion.
How's that?
Do you want it?
But I don't, legally, I just want to make sure the 824 applies.
Do we want, is it one motion with both elements, or?
Why don't we start with the public hearing for May 15 at 7 PM? Set a public hearing for the community connectivity sidewalk grant. Jim?
All right, I'll make a motion that we set public hearing for the Community Connection Sidewalk Grant for May 15th at 7 PM in the Mary Flood Room at the Portland Library.
Seconded by Lou. Any discussion on setting that date?
Is that only Main Street? Are these sidewalks going?
It's on the grant itself.
The
Just-
grant.
And we'll
And the
give
grant-
information on the grant.
I just want to make sure that if, for example, if the grant is for only Main Street,
Yes,
which
it
Jim
is.
just said.
It is, Ben.
I just want to make sure that the public hearing notices Main Street. I think that's important.
Yeah.
And if it was adding
Okay.
a different road, I'd want that
Yeah, we
added.
don't want other people showing up to talk
Yeah,
about
no,
it.
Right,
you don't
because-
want to be talking about.
Well, yeah,
Spring
it's a
Street.
double-edged sword. I want to make sure that people on Main Street
Okay.
who will be affected have an opportunity, and I also want to make sure everybody realizes it's Main Street.
So I
How's
think the
that?
motion would read, Sharon, set a public, set a public hearing for May 15 at 7 PM
Mhm.
in the Mary Flood Room for the Community Connectivity Sidewalk Grant for Main Street, unless you want to wordsmith it differently, Jim.
No, that's fine. That's, we could just say
Main
for the Main
Street
Street Sidewalk
sidewalk.
Replacement Project.
Replacement, thank you.
Just say, we want to make sure we add the Main Street Sidewalk Replacement Project. yeah.
And I think he's right on the 824. It doesn't say town-owned so far.
All in favor of setting the public hearing for May 15 at 7 PM?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, now the second item would be to send to Planning and Zoning Commission for an 824 referral of the Main Street Sidewalk Replacement Project.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Ralph. Discussion? Again, this gives another opportunity for the public to know what we're doing, because if you're attending the Planning and Zoning Commission or you're watching their agendas, you know that this project is being done. And 824 is to see if we're operating and using a grant that's in keeping with the Plan of Conservation and Development. So the motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excuse me. Any abstentions? No? Motion carries. Thank you. Status and committee reports. I will point out, speaking of projects, our administrators had our monthly meeting today, and there are many infrastructure improvement projects that we are in the midst of doing. I just wanted to list some of them that were talked about, and they include at the high school, there is a learning cafe that they have students learning culinary skills, and they're also having an area for eating, a place for people to go and have food that the children prepare. So we are working on getting that project off and running. We are re-roofing the town garage, and that project is going very well. I know half of it was done today, so that was good. We have, right now, we're in the design phase for replacing the Company 2 fire department roof. And we are in the middle of doing improvements at some of the town bridges that go over culverts, and they include at least one there's 3 of them, and I don't have the names of all of them, but we're working on them. I think one is on Cox Road, and there's a couple others in the rural area that what do they call them, the knee walls, and the shoring up of the bridges is occurring, so that's going on. Many guardrails have already been replaced this year, so guardrails have been replaced. Many of these items are under grants that we receive from the state. They started up again the sidewalks on Freestone Avenue. That's part of our 2016 bond initiative. And if you haven't been on Spring Street, I'd encourage you to go and take a look. There's a lot of work being done on Spring Street. And that will include sidewalk replacements, as well as the road being redone, and a new water main and sewer main on that road. Mather Construction is doing that job, and it's really progressing very nicely. Route 17 Park will start up work again after their winter shutdown, likely next week, weather permitting. And we also, you may not be aware of this, but there was a pipe that burst, was a sprinkler pipe in the Brownstone Intermediate School auditorium a few weeks ago. And what happened was it leaked onto some of the chairs and the ceiling and the floor. We went to our insurance company, and quite a bit of it is covered by insurance, not all of it, but most of it is. And it affected the cafeteria underneath that auditorium, and some of those ceiling tiles are being replaced as well.
That was a local vendor, I think I saw there too.
Is that right? I'm not sure who it is.
I think it's that DRS guy down in the, yeah.
Yes, it is DRS,
Which-
that's right.
That's another good thing to point out.
Thank you. That's right. And that they're on our insurance company's list of approved vendors. So we like to use them whenever possible. There was another one that I'll tell you about in a minute.
Library.
Yep. You wanna highlight that? It hasn't started yet, but.
No, they're in the midst of still making passes through the design to tweak it and reach a final state so they give another estimate and to see if it falls within the budget that they put together.
What was the outcome with the pipe?
Which pipe?
Yeah, you know.
The sewer pipe.
The
The
sewer-
pipe?
The
The
pipe.
pipe.
The pipe. I signed, I didn't sign it yet, but I agreed to sign it. Within our extension for the purchase and sale agreement for the Brownstone Avenue brownfield properties, they agreed on.
Believe it or not, that wasn't the pipe I meant.
Oh, that's not the pipe.
I meant the pipe coming
Which
out of
pipe?
this building.
Coming out of the library.
Coming out of the
Oh,
library.
that pipe.
But if you want to go into that one
Well,
first.
let me tell you about that, and
There
then
you
I'll
go.
tell you about the other pipe. That pipe, they're gonna do 50 pounds per square inch of nitrogen. They want 30 days from the date of signing of the extension, because they need to, mobilize and get that done. And then they will make the certified report available to the town for our review. So that's it. So this pipe, okay.
That might have been the easy one.
Okay, yes.
Just 30 days after we sign, after you sign to go ahead with the test.
No.
I didn't get, what's the 30-day part?
You remember you authorized up to 90 days extension of the purchase and sale agreement. So I haven't signed that yet because they needed to go to their contractor and make sure that they could get a contract to do the 50 pounds per square inch nitrogen. So we gave them some extra time to do that. So I haven't signed the extension yet. So from the date of the signature of the extension, they'll have 30 days. Because it's within the extension that they will do this. It's part of our agreement
Oh, 30
of
days for
purchase and
them to
sale.
do the testing,
Yes.
but the 90-day extension stays.
I gotta take a look and see if they agree to the 90 days.
Oh, that's
I'm not sure.
kind of what I was
I gotta
wondering.
look.
All right.
I'll take another look at that. You authorized up to 90 days.
Right.
right.
I just want to make sure we have enough time to
Yes.
digest all this.
Yes, exactly.
And they're gonna give us, did they, in any of the proposals, did it say roughly how long, once they do the test, it'll take to get the report? I'm just thinking, depending on if we have 30 days that are gonna be part of it, and say they only give 60, then we're gonna have to, we'll just keep working it, so. Thank you.
Okay, so the pipe in this building had to do with the bathrooms and the waste pipe. And we had problems. We had to close the library a couple of times. And it happened again
Oof.
after we last met. And so we decided, we being the Public Works Department, that they would get a camera in there and take a look.
Okay.
So we flushed the pipe as best we could so that we could get the library back open, and we did. And when the camera went in, they found that the pipe is in excellent condition. There were no blockages, and the condition of the interior of the pipe is in very good shape. And there was no clear explanation as to why it was backing up, other than the technician thought maybe when they really flushed it, they dislodged whatever it was that was in there.
So the
So-
pipe can't carry the amount of flow.
Or
If the
not
flow is
vented.
too great, it can't handle it.
Well,
Maybe it's not vented. In order for the water material to go down the pipe, you have to have an opening back here. So-
right, but if it wasn't vented all these years.
No, I'm not
we'd have
saying
a-
that. No, we're not saying that. No, no.
It
They
has to be
wanted,
vented.
Bob Shea
Yeah.
had it TV because they suspected there was a blockage in there. Because, yeah, I'm not gonna say that it's not properly vented, and
Oh,
please
no,
don't
I'm
say
not
that,
saying
because
that.
that's
Yeah.
not the truth.
Say maybe the vent is plugged or whatever.
Oh.
and
The vents on the roof,
breathes
Susan, the
a-
vents.
I don't know.
That could
No,
be.
the
Well,
vents
that
on the
could be, it
roof.
could have gotten
What he's
plugged.
saying is maybe a bird's
Leaves
nest or
or-
something.
It's
Yeah,
possible.
leaves, a
Yeah.
bird's nest or
Right,
something.
no, he's just
Yeah.
bringing up another point
Or a
that we can
squirrel.
look at
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah.
a good.
But it's properly
It's
vented,
properly
because it would have never been
Right,
passed.
CO'd.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
That's what I was asking.
No, no, no.
How could it not be
No,
vented?
he brings up a good point, a bird's nest, or, so
Yeah.
it's just something else to go look at. That's
Okay.
all, that's all.
Check it
Thank
out.
you,
But-
Ben.
It was different.
I like how Susan,
All these pipes, oh no.
And I have the tool to fix that.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh.
When Bob talked about it, and when he talked about testing and everything, no one, in any of the conversations I've heard, has ever said anything about the venting, and whether it was or wasn't, or whether it was tested.
and he's right,
That's why-
95% of the time, nobody goes up
Right.
for the clock. He's right,
Yeah.
95%.
No, that's a good
We
point.
all go down.
I
So
will-
that's a
I
good
will
point.
let you know
Now,
that. Yes,
In
go ahead.
my,
Your experience?
in my experience with pipes, and I've had a lot of it,
Yes.
that sometimes if it's an older pipe, they get little low
Bellies.
spots, bellies.
Yep.
But if you cammered it,
Cammered it.
you should
They didn't
notice that.
find it.
It should show that, because you'd have water trapped in it.
Right.
They didn't
Now,
find
the other
it.
thing though is if they really jetted it, and I don't know if it may be a cast iron pipe, because it's kind of an older building, but anyway, like you said, this used to happen to us a lot of times at the grocery store. They'd come in and they'd clean the pipes, like do the quarterly cleaning, and within a week, or sometimes just a matter of a couple days, they'd clog again, and we're like, how could this be? It was just here.
Right.
But he loosened up so much stuff, and if you don't have a good enough flow going through rather quickly after or so, it can clog again,
Yeah,
even though, so.
possible.
maybe
I mean, it's a
that's-
public building, it gets used a lot. We also have the lower flow toilets now.
Oh,
So,
yeah, there you go,
when you
not
think
enough
of-
volume
This was
of water.
built when there was probably the high flow toilets. That was what one of the technicians thought could be concerned too.
Well, if
But
you
I
add-
was happy to hear that we don't have a pipe.
If you add up what that low flow costs us, it might be cheaper to put the 1 gallon back in, I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
I'm not sure we still have that. So, any other questions on other projects that you are wondering about? I'll tell you this other project that we're going to be engaging in. Our insurance company would, in concert with Hartford Steam Boiler, who insures us for the sewer plant, for furnaces, lots of different things. They are going to put on a detection system at the sewer plant that will detect vibration within the pumps and pipes and so forth, with the hope of establishing a baseline and then monitoring it ongoing, so that as there may be fluctuations or changes in that vibration, that we would be alerted and we would take a look at the potential problem that would avert a major insurance claim, and would also avert interruption of service. So that's something we're looking at doing at the sewer plant. In addition, we are looking at doing that for the piping at Brownstone Intermediate School. It's our oldest school. And the insurance folks thought that might be a good one to start with. This is a pilot project. Kerma, our insurance agent, our insurance company, is paying for this to be installed. So they're going to see how it goes, and see if it's valuable, and then it would be expanded to other towns. So just wanted to let you know that. I thought that was interesting.
How big of a window do we have to fix after the vibration?
I don't know. We didn't get into that part.
That's the proper term is exactly. Good question.
And I think
Is that
that's
just part
highlights.
of our regular insurance renewal?
It's not insurance renewal. It's something they came and asked us if we wanted to voluntarily be involved with this, and we felt that it could be very helpful to us, so we have volunteered.
I see.
Any other questions? Bob pointed out that through his work, through the fire department, there's a new washer and dryer at Fire Company Number 1 that's been installed with a grant that he received, he applied for and received, and that allows them to wash all of their gear after a fire. Because it's been found if you don't properly wash after a fire, it can be carcinogenic. There can be carcinogens left in the fabrics. So we're doing that. I think that's highlight some of the things that are going on. Any other updates?
I have one thing for with regards to the park. Just to level set people, they are working on the drawings for the buildings, and today they said they hope to have the drawings complete in the next 3 weeks, so that they could then venture into bringing them in for the town to review them.
Thank you.
I wish I'd known in the morning, because I actually was in the town hall this at lunchtime, and I would have let them know, but I didn't know at the time.
Very good. Lou?
I know we have lots of committees, but what about a steering committee to investigate and to work with the potential of having a boat launch on the Connecticut River, part of the implementation of the of our plan for economic and conservation and development. I just think that we're maybe close to having an access to the river, and if that was the case, it would be nice to have a boat, non-motorized boat launch at that part of the river.
Great.
So if
Do you want this to be a citizens or a selectmen's committee?
citizens, I think, would be good, similar to the airline trail.
Yep. So I can draft a resolution for your consideration
Yeah.
next time, if
Okay.
you'd like. Okay. I don't think we need a vote on that. I'll just get it ready
No,
and
that'd
take
be
a look
great.
at it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a good idea to start looking at that, because we've obviously talked about it for a while now.
Yeah, and then that committee can come back to us and see where they've gone, and hopefully we have access to the river, and that would be a bonus to the town. It would also
Absolutely.
align with our conservation and development plan.
That's excellent. Good idea. Okay, I'll bring that forward.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I do have,
Yes.
might as well bring it up now.
Yeah.
We talked about projects and stuff. I know that I had to once again address comments on Facebook about the park. So I had already set out on Facebook that I was, talking about trying to get a meeting together so that people could come and ask questions about the park. The discussion we're having is maybe what we just do it is allow people to come and ask questions about any of the main projects that we're dealing with. Spring Street, the sidewalks, the park. So I suggest we set up a meeting on Tuesday, June 4th at 6:30 to allow for that kind of interaction with the public.
We'll just have to find a location. I'm not sure this room would be
Yeah.
available,
Yeah,
so
well,
location to be determined.
Should you throw the airline trail on that also?
Sure.
I mean, it really could, it could be any project.
I would notice it as a Board of Selectmen meeting, because I think you should all be there. And I'll try to get some of our town staff there too, so that we can answer some of these questions. Because I was at a luncheon today, and I had a lot of excellent questions from people that I tried to answer, but there was only 35 people there, so many other people would be welcome to come. I've started this community conversations. I would like it to be like that, so it's not necessarily always so formal, but if we're all here, it has to be a Board of Selectmen meeting, but it would allow for the community to converse with us and ask questions back and forth. If, with your permission, that's what I'll call it. Special Board of Selectmen meeting for a community conversation, project updates, and I'll try to list the projects. But because it's a special meeting, you can't talk about anything else, so it'll just be projects.
Now, would that be in lieu of a regular meeting, or just an additional meeting, and it'd be like in the evening?
We're saying 6:30, June 4th.
Oh.
Yeah,
missed
it would
that.
be the day
Sorry.
before our regular meeting.
It's the day before our regular meeting, so
Okay.
it is an extra meeting.
The day of the regular meeting.
Simply
You wanna
because
leave it at the
that allows
transfer
regular
time,
business
you
to
know.
occur
You better cut.
Right.
You wanna continue talking.
on the regularly scheduled meeting. This would be a special meeting for project updates. And we'll notice that as well.
You said 6:30?
Yes. Location to be determined.
And once we have an official time and place
Well,
confirmed, I'll blast it out there. to let
Okay.
them know.
but if we could all pencil that date in, that'd be good. Any other matters under informal discussion or status of committee reports? Public comment? There's no public tonight. Informal discussion? We've had a
Think we
lot.
had it?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so. There is no reason for an executive session, no possible action, so the only thing left
I
would
have
be,
a question then,
yes,
on the follow-up items?
yes, I don't have anything.
No, but on this
But you do.
land swap.
Okay.
I think we need to keep that moving along,
Well,
especially.
the representative from the Exchange Club, Jim Tripp,
Yeah.
Jim Hill,
Oh,
excuse
Hill.
me.
Yeah.
Jim Hill. Jim Hill told me that the Exchange Club has a surveyor. And the surveyor has been very busy with his regular job. So he's doing it, I think, pro bono. So he would do it as soon as he freed up some time. And then Jim would give me the map that I can share with you based on some of the discussions that has been had by, is our committee Lou and Mike? Are you on that, or is it Jim?
I think Rick,
No, I'm in the Exchange Club, so
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
kinda
Mike and I, Mike and I.
But we decided that
Oh, and I think I would-
non-members would actually
Yeah, I was gonna
reach
do that
out.
too.
You were there. So, okay, so have we kind of agreed on the general concept? Because I know we discussed it about who would take ownership of the road, and I think we tweaked the original plan.
We did.
Okay.
We did.
And we went back to them with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Right, so just as a recap, we had taken a look at the section of property that they were going to swap for a piece of land, including the road, beyond the gate. And the discussion we had is, how about if we give you the land adjacent to the road, we keep the road and the gate entrance area as one. And we'll take that little triangle, which is, it's not useful for anybody, but,
Kinda squares
it's
it
there.
off.
So that squares it off for them. It squares it off for us in the sense that now we have access to our road without asking permission from the Exchange Club.
Right. And ultimately, maybe that access helps this potential.
Exactly.
Both sides.
Once that's in place, then we would have access to the river,
Yeah.
which would be nice, since we have a lot of frontage.
We have a lot of frontage
but
that we
don't
can't get
have
to.
any access to it.
Yeah.
No, that'd be very good.
Okay, thanks. That's
You're welcome.
what I wanted to make sure we were all on the same page there.
Yeah, so far, that's what we talked about.
Okay.
And as I said, there's nothing under executive session for tonight, so
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.